Hello, I am Aviva Lee, reporting live in Jerusalem from room 552 for Israel 24/6 TV. Welcome to this special edition concerning the status of women in Israel. Several weeks ago now, the American Jewish Congress posted an announcement on its website. The announcement is still on their website today. That announcement concerns the refusal of Ms. Magazine to run a pictorial ad submitted by the AJCongress titled, "This is Israel." Last January, I began an in-depth investigation concerning the allegations against Ms. made by AJCongress President Mr. Richard Gordon. He stated publicly that the Ms. refusal to run the ad betrays an anti-Israel posture long held by that magazine. In response to the Ms. refusal, a show was produced with the backdrop of the American Jewish Congress logo. Three feminists spoke and tried to underscore Mr. Gordon's opinion. The only person at the American Jewish Congress who commented on the record to my queries, and that by way of email, was Mr. David Twersky, Senior Advisor to the Executive Director. However, when I contacted Ms. Magazine and asked to speak with the Executive Editor there, Ms. Catherine Spiller, an appointment for a phone interview was scheduled without delay, and Ms. Spiller participated quite candidly in that phone interview. Ms. Spiller stated unequivocally that the decision to refuse to run the ad was based upon the opinions of the decision-makers at Ms. concerning such matters. That opinion was that the wording and photograph, in the context in which it was submitted as an ad, violated not only the policies but the mission of the magazine. The one question that I asked both Ms. Spiller and Mr. Twersky was the following. Since the decision-makers at Ms. decided that the wording was a violation of the policies for ads, was alternate wording ever submitted? The answer I received from both parties was a deafening no. I could not help but ask myself, where is the dialogue on this teacup tempest? Why make such public allegations of anti-Israel bias rather than thinking creatively and suggesting alternate wording which might be accepted? However, both Ms. Spiller and Mr. Gordon are busy executives entitled to make decisions without opening a door for creative problem solving and bridge building. And just as surely, concerned journalists are entitled to weigh in and commentate on any dilemma, both pro and con. And several did, in fact, devote entire columns to the media's discussion of the Ms. refusal to run the AJC ad. In all of those articles which I reviewed on the topic, I saw many emotional, subjective dissertations scattered with facts. However, I did not see a single article which really goes to the heart of the matter. And what is the heart of the matter in this news story, some 3 months old now? The fact is that the ad, as it was submitted, regardless of the Ms. policy and mission, was simply not true. Concerning women in Israel, I can give over the following facts. Number 1. As an American Jewish woman who holds dual citizenship in Israel, I assured Mr. Gordon that the ad was entirely erroneous as it was presented to Ms. Magazine. Number 2. As an American Jewish woman living and working in Israel, I can testify that gender bias is part and parcel of the fabric of life here. Women in Israel are decidedly at a huge disadvantage, and that bias-bred disadvantage is generally culture-based. Number 3. Evidence of this screams out to the observant onlooker, whether male or female. From Mr. Bibi Netanyahu, who looked me in the face and said, "I can't do anything for battered women," to the bus drivers who run prostitution rings from their vehicles without shame and without the slightest pang of conscience, the cultural and societal testimony reverberating from daily life in Israel proves that the wording of the AJCongress ad was at best based on a naive ignorance, and hopefully not, but surely at worst, a conscious attempt to deceive and distort the facts concerning the status of women in Israeli society. Indeed, the AJCongress found a magazine which would run the ad. Nevertheless, life for women in Israel has not been improved. Proof that this is all pertinent today is the number of battered women in Israel who regularly seek shelter in safe houses. Proof that this is all pertinent today is the sex slave trade alive and well in Israel, most prominently in Tel Aviv. Regarding the former, domestic violence against women in Israel is all too common. Regarding the latter, men in Israel, both Jew and Gentile, have worked together in concert to import kidnapped women for profit and sensual pleasure, playing into the hands of those here without a conscience who still live in the 2nd century when it comes to women's rights. Even though there is legislation here outlawing domestic violence and the trafficking of humans, both crimes against women are prevalent. Still and yet, at the doors of the male-dominated Israeli police offices, that legislation often lays impotent, begging for enforcement. In Israel, those prominent female professionals working outside of their homes represent a very slight minority of women who have been permitted, yes, permitted by their male counterparts to rise to public prominence, and sometimes at an awful cost. And it is my opinion that if women here could be entirely honest, they would say that even in light of their privileged positions and professional stature, they have at one time or another been the targets of gender bias. As I consider myself a personal friend of Mr. Gordon, I would like to say that without a doubt, I am positive that his motives as president of the American Jewish Congress sprang from goodwill toward the sovereign state of Israel, whose existence among the community of nations we both wholeheartedly endorse. And while the rights of women who are citizens of Israel may be light years ahead of Israel's Arab neighbors, regretfully, this country's record shows that the photograph of Judge Banish, Tzipi Livni, and Dalia Yitzhak with a headline, "This is Israel," could not be further from the truth. May the Almighty help this present inhabited world. I am Aviva Lee, reporting live in Jerusalem from room 552 for Israel 24/6 TV. Thank you, and Shalom.